Monday Night Football is here, and once again, we have ourselves a little doubleheader with my sweet boy Jaden Daniels potentially in a shootout versus Chicago, Buffalo, Atlanta. We've got a lot to talk about here, but the prep work begins as it always does here on the Splash Play channel. We're going to look at projections, compare them to ownership from our friends at Stochastic. We'll hop over to the other side of the aisle, see what ETR thinks, what the cash game lineup for today would be, what some of the best sim lineups are on ETR's Solver. We'll hop back to Stochastic, do a sim on there. I'll build a hand-build lineup. By the end of this video, you'll know all the must plays along with my splash plays for today's two-game slate today for Monday Night Football. Let's get into it. I am a special brand of sick today. Thought I fought off whatever germs were in me, but the Great Wolf Lodge takes us all out. So I am like, my lungs are dying. Ever since I've had COVID a couple years ago, like the coughs get worse every time I'm sick. So shout out to all my fellow long COVID survivors out there, because I want to fucking die. I would appreciate seeing chats like this. We got a guy, Chris, here saying that apparently one of the best lineups that he saw this week was one that I showed on screen here from The Sims. Dowdle with the Sam Darnold stack. Here you go. I mean, look, whenever you see the top ROI lineups or ones that you feel like people won't play, probably worth the exposure there. But yeah, fading Puka, never know how that goes. He's late. I got early for his complaining and crying. What complaining and crying? What? I'm also literally started 1 minute after the start time. What is this shit? Get the fuck. That's an auto ban. I don't need that today. But what complaining and crying? I got a lot of things right. It was not a super profitable week for me, but I don't know what you're expecting here. Either way, though, it's Monday night. Jade Daniels is playing tonight. I think you got the wrong channel, buddy boy. Probably people angry at themselves. They want to be angry at me. Fuck them. We got to talk about projections, though. I got to get through this video. Jaden Daniels, number one projected guy, 23.1 fantasy points on the slate. Our elite QB boy is back in fashion. A little bit surprised to see him be better projected than Josh Allen, just relative to the fact that Buffalo's got a 26.8 implied total. Washington, 27.5. That's close enough. More of the offense flows a little bit more closely through Josh Allen's hands than Jaden Daniels. So I don't know. I'm obviously biased towards Jaden always, but at 6,900 with this projection being better projected than Josh Allen, seems like Jaden might be a very popular QB play today. Obviously, with no Terry McLaurin, no Noah Brown again. For Washington, you do have a very clear target tree. It should be Deebo Samuel. It should be Zach Ertz. To a lesser extent, obviously Zach Ertz got blanked last week. Going back to the well, him being good this week, it would not be a crazy thing. But so much production flowed Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's way last week. I think people probably chased that a little bit more. So just going to Jaden stacks feels like a pretty natural thing for me to go to today. Obviously, my favorite boy. I knew going into the Petri dish. I did know, and snowman tryouts. Yeah, everybody, people want to be the new arch enemy, not my last enemy. Much like the Peacemaker finale, all our enemies are in jail. Or I don't want to spoil that for you guys, but I would love to send everybody who's mean to me in a YouTube chat, send them to another dimension, and it will be good to go. That's the dream. Josh Allen at number 2, though. Buffalo versus Atlanta here. Really high price tag for Josh Allen. Seems like it's going to be impossible to pay for on the slate, especially with how chalky Bijan Robinson is. We're going to spoil that for you in a moment here. But he's projected for about 90% ownership. To fit in Josh Allen and Bijan Robinson, you're going to have to pay down a little bit somewhere, have to get a little unique somewhere else. But at this point for Josh Allen, 7,700 steep price tag on a 2-game slate. It's really what it comes down to. But if everybody's going to find it easier to play Jaden Daniels because he's better projected, because he's so much cheaper, that obviously offers some utility to go to Josh Allen, another guy who has a massive slate-breaking ceiling. And still on the slate, too, like I wouldn't sleep on Caleb Williams. Michael Penix seems like the easiest one to fade here, but he has very natural stack partners. If you're going to go to Drake London, obviously Darnell Mooney out again. Kyle Pitts has been honestly perfectly competent this year relative to our expectations of Kyle Pitts in particular. But Drake London's getting targeted 9.3 times a game, Pitts 6 times a game. Penix still viable as well. So certainly if you don't want to pay up, I think you're going to be more unique for it. But we'll see how much the ownership is for Josh Allen, because it's a lot to pay for a guy who is the number 2 projected guy on the slate. Bijan Robinson at number 3, 22 fantasy points projected for him at 8,200. Obviously, he's been heavily involved overall. Certainly does give enough work away to Tyler Algier that you'd be concerned. Bijan Robinson, 3.8 red zone opportunities a game, 2.5 a game for Tyler Algier. One more actually inside the 10-yard line for Tyler Algier, 1.8 opportunities per game for Algier there, compared to 1 for Bijan. So a little bit surprising to see. Certainly, on the slate here, I would say that for Bijan Robinson, he's going to be a very popular play that does make the concept of a Tyler Algier more appealing. You could also save some money playing Algier at 4,700. But obviously, Bijan's work is so good. He's getting 22 intended touches a game, 6 of which are targets. As a PPR play, as a touchdown equity play, he fits all the criteria we look for. So hard to imagine Bijan Robinson, but that said, you know how these slates go. You fade the guy who's super chalk. Same principles as we talk about in showdowns. You're going to get more unique for it. And for Bijan Robinson, it seems like he'll be the guy today that everybody can't imagine not playing on the slate. Number 4, Caleb Williams, 20 fantasy point projection for him at 5,600. We'll see how much he comes up. Frankly, his projection's high enough here that maybe he'll be our cash game QB for the day. But Caleb, a 3.5x value, should be the top value on the slate as well. Caleb, even though people have been down on him to start the year, still an 80% catchable ball rate. That's basically league average for most of the QBs so far to start the year. Handling pressure decently well, only a negative 0.6 EPA on those plays. Could be better, much like the Caleb Williams experience is at this point. Could be better, could be worse. He still creates value at the pass game overall, 0.01 EPA per drop back. A positive number, always good to see that. 0.06 EPA per pass. Could be better, but it's good enough. For Caleb here, I think the fact that you get 22 implied points, not one of the better totals on the slate, but still a guy where the offense is flowing largely through him. This is a team that's got 73% of their touchdowns coming through the air, only 27% through the run game. And DeAndre Swift, his role in the red zone, not very good. 2.3 red zone opportunities a game, only 1.3 for Kyle Monangai as well. So for Caleb, the entire thing goes through him. Happy to play him today, but in particular in lineups where I don't have enough money to get to Jaden Daniels, definitely don't have enough money to get to Josh Allen. Caleb should be the preferred pick. Off today, GF is away, girlfriend's away, can enjoy a splash stream in peace. I appreciate that, Thomas. Appreciate all you guys who are watching live here. And yes, hit the like button, guys. If you get any value of this video, even if you're just going to not listen to anything I say. Though really, I feel like the people that actively want to not listen to me, Rashad White, our guy Lee was talking about not going his way. He has a perfectly usable day. I don't think won anybody a whole lot of money because he was pretty expected there. And he definitely was no Rico Dowdle, but the takes have been good lately. So that's why I don't get people being mad. I get people being mad if like I've been getting things really wrong. I haven't. I've been like, it's a really good season for me in terms of my content takes. So I appreciate all you guys here. But whatever you do with the data I give you here, whatever you do with the information I give you here, hit the like button, subscribe, goes a long way from here. Especially a day like today, where it's been really easy for me to not do a stream because I feel like ass. I still show up for you guys because that's the promise that we make here on Splash Play. I'm gonna do the work just like I do for myself. I try to do it for you guys. James Cook, your number 5 overall projected player here, or top projected player, 17.5 projection for him. We saw last time out that game versus New England. The downside, that was also a much stiffer rushing matchup there, where New England's defense really one of very few teams that right now defending the run particularly well, as has been a staple for Mike Vrabel defenses for literally years now, going back to Tennessee. That said, going against Atlanta here, it's a team giving up 0.1 EPA per rush. In fact, both defenses in this Buffalo-Atlanta game giving up about that number, so not good run defense in this game. James Cook, we know, gets good touchdown equity, 4.4 red zone opportunities a game, 1.6 out of the 10-yard line. That is bell cow level work. He's also getting 20.8 intended touches a game. The pass game work could always be a little bit better. You have Ty Johnson hurting that a little bit. Only 2.8 targets a game for James Cook. But he's good when he gets the ball. That's really the main thing for me. He always has the explosive plays that are available to him. And in a matchup where Atlanta's run defense is not very good, they're not missing a ton of tackles, but they're also stuffing the run at a pretty low rate, about 15%. That's where James Cook has the upside more. And the fact that he was bad last week, James Cook, hard for me to imagine not being with the field on him today, if not going a little bit above. All right, we got top values here. There we go. Chris saying, yeah, dude, the Sims weren't showing Dowdle, and you were like, I don't know about that. Your gut was right. Thank you. Look, I come by it earnestly. Again, I really do try very hard. It might not seem like it when you see me on stream popping on here in the same hat, same t-shirt. Part of the reason that I wear t-shirts that look the same is because it gives me more time to think about football. It's the insane level. It's me and tech CEOs. They're the only guys that have closets full of similar shirts. Caleb Williams, 19.7 fantasy points. We talked about him already. Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix at number 3. Your top values, once again, all QB plays here. But basically at this point, Caleb, Jaden, Michael Penix, QBs being better projected as values is the case we've had on every slate for DraftKings this year. They're a little bit cheap for what their projection is, but obviously it doesn't really matter a lot because they're not the value plays that you can cram in the same way. Josh Allen, your number 4 value. Again, same thing there. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 15.9 projection, 5,600. He'll probably get played a lot today. Krosky-Merritt, we know the downside with him. We know that sometimes he could disappear in games. That said, did feel like there's a little more deliberate usage for him last week. Let me check the snap counts. At the beginning of the game, I know Krosky-Merritt also really kept Chris Rodriguez at bay. Then the second half, it got a little bit weird of that Washington game last time out versus the Chargers. Krosky Merritt last game, 28 snaps. He was at 20 the week before that, 23 the week before that. Chris Rodriguez, 15 snaps last week. McNichols, also 15. Yeah, Krosky Merritt did not really gain much, to be honest. I mean, it's a high snap count, so it's a positive for him, but it still feels like these can go, a different way, or the opportunity can go a different way. Certainly, if Jaden gets there more, takes more off the table running-wise, takes more off the table in terms of creating production for the pass game, like Zach Ertz got blanked last week in a game where Krosky Merritt goes out. Just really be mindful of the pie for Washington. Like, that's the one thing that going back to last year has always stood out with the Commanders. When one guy gets there, other guys in the offense seem to falter. They don't really create outlier massive production. Maybe a game against Chicago gives them a little bit more, but I think if you're playing Krosky Merritt, Debo, Zach Ertz, I just don't think Washington puts up points enough that way. I could be wrong, though. We'll see what we get in the Sims and with the optimizer and all that. But right now for Krosky Merritt, projection feels a little bit lofty to me, and I think he gets crammed into lineups a lot more because that price tag's going to be pretty appealing. Shout the super chat here, Robert Griff III, dealer tip for good player tips. Enjoy my tip. Thank you. I do enjoy your tip. I'll put your tip right in my back pocket, right in my asshole. This guy knows ball. Thank you. This guy knows ball, and this guy knows pain while coughing. What do you think about the Bills coach saying they'll decrease workload to Cook to preserve him for playoffs? Coaches say that shit all the time. Like in NBA, it's definitely more of a trope about guys just straight up lying about usage. Going, we're going to monitor his minutes, and they monitor the minutes as the guy plays an unlimited unlimited snap count. In basketball, unlimited amount of court time, basically. For football, it's the same thing. Like you can monitor it. They monitored Juwan Jennings yesterday. Juwan Jennings with his broken ribs. You know how they monitored him not playing as many snaps? They had him in on every run blocking play. Just fucking, he has 5 broken ribs, apparently a shoulder injury, an ankle injury, and they had him run blocking for Christian McCaffrey. So that's coaches for you. I mean, certainly the Niners are a different example, but I wouldn't sweat it too much. Top expected owned players here by Stochastic. Again, all this data does update, so if you're seeing what Chris is talking about in the chat, you want to get some more access to data for yourself, so you build better lineups, I really do recommend checking out Stochastic. Of course, 15% off, promo code SPLASH at Stochastic, link down below. Does go a long way to support the show, and shout out to all you guys that have been clicking that link and going over there, because the affiliate fees are looking a lot more normal now, thankfully, after a worrisome couple weeks there, but we're good. We're okay. We're making enough money to keep the Splash Play channel alive. Bijan Robinson, 90% expected ownership. Super duper chalk here at 8,200. In fact, the next highest projected owned guy is James Cook at 66%. So for Bijan Robinson, we all know what he is as a player, one of the best players in football right now in terms of his pass game work and his run game work. Certainly, though, does lose some touchdown equity occasionally to Tyler Algier if the pass game gets going a little bit more. And I'm not saying the pass game will get going, because Buffalo's pass defense is unequivocally better in the run defense. They're soft versus the run. They don't get better in the red zone. Points to EPA in the red zone for Buffalo's run defense is objectively pretty bad. That said, for Bijan, just the game theory of it all, not playing Bijan in some amount of lineups just seems like a wise move if he's going to be played by 90% of the field today. James Cook, 67. So again, a bit of a drop off here. Certainly if the passing game production flows a little bit more, or Buffalo just stalls out, I suppose, like they did versus New England, I don't think that's the most likely. Buffalo's still a team that I would say we think is good. I don't think we need to change the priors on Buffalo because they lost the game by a field goal to Drake May and the boys on Sunday Night Football. James Cook, I think, still a very strong play here. But again, this ownership, Bijan and James Cook, if you were to make a max one rule from these two, you'd be losing a little bit of projection, but be getting more unique from the jump. Certainly think that's one way to play these two guys today, who should be forced their way into pretty much every lineup. Drake London at number 3, 64% expected ownership for him. Game script where we would think Buffalo should have the lead for the most part. And Drake London, his 9 targets a game are the best of anybody on today's slate. Romo Dunze not too far off at 8.8, but still is behind the 9.3 a game that Drake London gets. Drake London's upside in this spot. Buffalo plays zone defense 60.2% of the time. Drake London gets targeted 30.4% of the time versus zone. For comparison, Kyle Pitts is at 19. Darnell Mooney's at 15. Bijan gets targeted a good amount versus zone as well. 26% of the time he's running a route versus zone, he gets a target, compared to 10% versus man. So should be a good matchup on paper for Drake London as well as Bijan Robinson with the zone-heavy splits for Buffalo. But a spot here for Drake London, 6,200, a little bit cheap for his upside. But certainly, I think, to me, out of all the teams today, and we talk about it a lot for these 2-game slates, which we're getting more than ever up. Apparently next week, my birthday, Monday night, guys, next week. So put it in your calendars. Another doubleheader next Monday, too. So we're getting a lot of these. one thing to always keep in mind in these doubleheader slates that people don't play enough, just fading one team entirely. And I do think with the ownership for Bijan and Drake London, if you get the Bills completely kicking their ass, you get Atlanta not showing up like it did a couple weeks ago versus Carolina, you fade those guys. We're stripping away so much ownership that the field's going to have. So even though I like Drake London, I like Bijan, these are not brave takes. These are probably your spots right away where if you take Atlanta out of the pool, and they fail like we have seen them fail, and nobody gets there, that could be a spot where you get away from a lot of ownership for these guys. Number 4 is Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, 62% ownership for him at 6,400. Deebo, again, your top target earner, your top pass catcher for Washington. The biggest things that make him not get there would be Zach Ertz doing well. I guess McCaffrey and Jalen Lane scoring some touchdowns. But Deebo's role, 7.6 targets a game, targeted 27% of the time he's running a route. Incredibly efficient, but not so efficient that I expect him to crater with a 0.59 EPA per target. The one thing I will critique for Deebo is only getting one red zone opportunity a game, which is not as many as you would hope for a guy who does run the ball a little bit, does get those touches as well. But for Deebo, still my favorite player on the Commanders receiving core, and obviously a guy that I've been backing all offseason as well. And I really hope he hits because my best ball lineups could use it. So for Deebo, 61% ownership seems fair. Certainly if you're playing him, Jaden's going to be a more likely part of your lineup than not. But I would guess that if you play him with another stack, maybe that also shaves some ownership product off of what you're trying to build. Romo Dunze, your last guy in the top 5, 58% expected ownership for him. The price tag for Romo Dunze, 6,500, looking pretty good. 58% ownership, not mad at it. He has been your lead back your lead receiver for Chicago by a pretty decent margin. 8.8 targets a game compared to 5.3 for DJ Moore. Romo Dunze also getting 2 deep targets a game compared to 0.5 for DJ Moore, 0.5 for Luther Burden. You're also getting 1.5 red zone opportunities a game for Romo Dunze compared to 0.5 for DJ Moore, 0.8 for Luther Burden, 0.8 for Cole Kmet as well. Basically, Romo Dunze's had a different role than everybody else in the offense. He's been efficient enough with it, 0.33 EPA per target. I like Odunze here. I think a lot of people will like Odunze here. But if I were building a lineup, and I'm sure when I do hand build in a moment, it's going to be Jaden to Deebo with an Odunze bring back. That seems like a pretty common way. I'm sure a lot of people will try to build things because the Chicago game versus Washington, like it should shoot out. It's 2 pretty shitty secondaries, 2 defenses in particular on Chicago's side that are not very good. I think that game environment seems like the best one on the slate between the 2 games that you have. So hard for me to imagine fading Rome, but he'll be appropriately played at 58% owned. Krosky Merritt not too far behind, 52% expected ownership. Jaden at 41 feels like a lot for any QB, even on a 2-game slate, but hard to imagine for me not being with the field on whatever ownership Jaden gets. Kyle Pitts, about a third of the field expected to play him. Dalton Kincaid, who has been great this year, going to be played by about 32% of the field, though. Man, pretty expensive for Kincaid at 4,400 at tight end. Going down the ownership here, Chris Moore under 10%, Luke McCaffrey that is under 10%, Cole Kmet under 10, Jalen Lane under 10, Josh Palmer, whose role unfortunately is like now distantly behind Shakir and Coleman. Palmer getting 33 snaps a game compared to 43 for Shakir, 49 for Keon Coleman. Palmer, I think, has more upside in a showdown kind of slate than he does a 2-gamer, but at 3,600, he might be a thing that saves you money, so I'll just highlight him. Ray McLeod, same thing, extra snaps to go around because of Mooney not being in. You'll get more of him. You'll get more of Casey Washington. You'll get more of, who the fuck else is on their depth chart at this point? Atlanta Falcons. I feel like there's one name I'm forgetting. Hodge? Is it Hodge? You'll get more Kadero Hodge. David Sills, probably not so much. The point being for Atlanta, I think Moody's just one of those guys that gets a little bit more work from not having Mooney out there. And Mooney's role has been pretty solid, getting targeted more than I would think for himself. So for Mooney, and that's 5.3 targets a game for Mooney that he's going to be leaving behind. Yeah, I think for Atlanta, I'm probably not going to play a ton of the super low owned. I'm sure this tab. There we go. This tab. Probably not going to play a lot of the super low-owned Falcons, but Casey Washington, minimum salary. Ray McLeod at 3,400. Those guys certainly, are plays that you can make today. Algier here, 6% owned. Direct leverage on Bijan, even though the workload's certainly nowhere near as close. Michael Penix at 5% owned. I don't know how you don't play him on a slate where you have 40% expected for Jaden Daniels. That's like no ownership for Penix. I don't think it's possible for him on a 2-game slate to be 5% owned, but he is easily the 3rd or the 4th least appealing QB on this slate. Like he's the guy that you don't want to play. So how much the field will not play him, 5% feels a little bit aggressive. And you can see the rest of the guys that are lower owned here. Not a lot of exciting plays here. But these are guys that decrease your ownership product. So if you want to go here, certainly that'll be one way to get less owned. Forgot Mooney was out. Was wondering where Washington was coming from besides Mount Vernon. There you go. I didn't know he was from Mount Vernon, but yes, you do have Mooney out again. This time, it's a hamstring this time, right? So it was a shoulder. Now it's a hamstring. Our boy Mooney. Fucking nobody can be healthy. Puka went down too. Puka went down just awful. This is the worst injury year I can recall in best ball, and it's been bad a lot of years. I mean, literally one year ended because of a guy having a heart failure, and it cost me money in Best Ball Mania. Or it could have finished top 100 or better instead finished top 200. Injuries are always a thing, but man, this year, it's hard to imagine any drafter not getting hit by injuries, no matter what format they're playing, no matter what kind of drafter they are. So that's how that goes. But let's adjust these projections here. We're going to run the solver next. ETR side of the aisle. Again, check out the products here. Stochastic, 15% off solver. Link in the description as well to check that out. No discount, but it does support the show when you buy a product with the solver. And it is a good tool. All right, let's change these projections by a decimal point. So go 6.9 instead of 7. Go 7.49 here instead of 7.5. And that'll allow us to build a cash game lineup. Yeah, birthday sex. I didn't know it was your birthday. Happy belated birthday, Robert Griffin III. I guess it might be why we get along so well if you're also a Libra. But shout out to the birthday sex. I will be instead choosing to not be touched today. But next week, who knows? It's not my birthday today. It is next week. All right, top lineup right now for according to ETR data. Again, no boosts on this one. Is just cash game. So fuck. This is not the kind of slate for me apparently because the Commanders are going to be chalk. We got big ol' stack here. We got Jaden Daniels at QB, Bijan Robinson, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Drake London makes it in, Rome Odunze makes it in. Again, these are all guys that I like and that I would love to play in a lineup. Deebo Samuel makes it in. Kyle Pitts makes it in. There's a lot of stacking of Falcons without the QB, so I think right away that stands out as a reason against Michael Penix. Zach Ertz in the flex, double tight end lineup, Commanders D. So naturally, the big takeaway would be if you're playing with ETR users are naturally going to get Commander stacks because basically, if you watch all the videos, you know this by now, but I repeat it for guys that are watching for the first time. I've had a lot of new viewers chiming in lately, so I'm trying to make sure I do the best I can to uplift you guys to the same level of understanding that everybody who watches all the shit I do has. Whenever you naturally get Commanders coming up in groups this much, that means that it's not really going to get unique to stack more Commanders. Here right away, we get Jaden with Krosky-Merritt, with Deebo, with Zach Ertz, and the defense as well. That's just something where anything that you're going to build Commanders focus, like unless you're going to fade Deebo, fade Zach Ertz, play Jalen Lane, play Luke McCaffrey, you're going to find a lot of people duping that core, underlying part. So even though I love Jaden on the slate, the fact he's coming up everywhere, the fact that Stochastic thinks he'll be owned 40% by the field, he might not be one of the better plays, which is frustrating. Would I consider eliminated QB or 2 in 20 max? I would. I mean, it just comes down to your appetite for risk. Like I said before, it happens so many times on these short slates, 2-game slates, 3-game slates. We're just fading one team entirely is what wins it. So I would say if you're building a 20 max, if you were to fade the one team entirely, for every team, that would be an approach I wouldn't be opposed to. But again, it just comes down to what you want to do. Like, if you're going to fade all the other QBs and play Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen, I don't think you're doing a whole lot to get unique on that front. But it will give you more shots on goal for whatever the best Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen lineups you create are. So your mileage may vary. Overall, in the top 25, though, Drake London is the only one who makes it into every lineup. So Drake London would seemingly be the one player, at least according to ETR data. If you fade him, you get unique enough right away, or you get more unique right away, because Drake London will make his way into a lot of lineups for people today. Player stack-wise, you got Bijan, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts together in 48% of these lineups. Nothing else too noteworthy. Rome Odunze and DeAndre Swift together in 24% of them. Game stack-wise, nothing really to note here. Some Atlanta, Buffalo stacking happening naturally, but not a lot. And then team stack-wise, okay, 100% of lineups have at least 3 Falcons. 96% of lineups have at least 2 Commanders. So this fits what I was thinking, which I'm kind of happy to see. If you limit yourself to 2 Falcons max, or maybe limit yourself to that many Falcons in lineups where you're not playing Penix as well, you're going to be off the beaten path a little bit more just based off the projection math. If you play only 1 Falcon, you're going to be really unique. If you play 0 Falcons, you'll be even more unique. The Falcons, to me, I think the price tags are a little bit low. Again, I like the Falcons. They're one of my highest drafted teams across best balls. Like, I'm not shitting on the Falcons. I don't think they're a bad team, but it just comes down to the game theory here. And Atlanta does play down in competition a little bit. So the fact of getting the lineup so easily, That's one way to get unique, would be to just not play Falcons. But let's import some main event stacking. Main slate stacking. Everything here is a main event. Wait, did it not? Give me my boosts. Here we go. All right, stacks. And let's increase it even more, because we really want to correlate with our RBs more if we can for a short slate. We want to correlate with our opponents more for a short slate as well if we can. I mean, you want to do it for the main slate too, but the short slate especially. Because if we capture an outlier game environment, a 2-gamer, that's what gives you the biggest upside. I think we get along because we're both assholes. I think I'm one of the kindest people I know. I just don't tolerate stupidity. That's all. If you're watching for the first time, click that like button. Yes, please click that like button. Do this stuff. I don't think any of you are assholes. I think that one guy in the beginning was an asshole. I don't even get why he's mad at me. I've never seen that name before in my life. But guys, show some love if you can. We're building out our 250 lineups here. Subscribe, hit the like button. Goes a long way for me here. One dude. Again, I show up sick. No sick days here. Even when this weekend, couldn't make the video happen on Friday because I was too busy collecting all the germs from Great Wolf Lodge. Still showed up Saturday, and I appreciate all you guys who also repaid that kindness by watching that video. Actually, one of our most watched must plays for the main slate video in a while. So I appreciate that. But again, I show up here. My promise to you guys that I'll show up and do the work for NFL, for NBA coming up soon on the Splash Play Bets channel. And your support goes a long way. Your support also goes a long way in the Discord. Join the channel, $5. You also get access to a Discord channel, get access to my data sheet every week. And on normal weeks, you'll get a video from me going through game by game all the advanced analytics that you hear me riffing on, rifling off here on stream. So please join the channel, join the Discord, get in there. It's a good community we're building. And a lot of the guys I would call friends. Robert Griffin's hurt, I would call a friend. If you guys get in there, I'll call you a friend too. Unless you're a dick. Unless you're that first guy. Though, that's the only way he can talk to me now, is if he joins the Discord. Let's simulate these out. Do we have the full tournaments? Nope, we do not. Why would we? But what's the biggest 150 max? Probably the flea flicker. So let's do that. Gonna sim these entries out in the flea flicker. For showdown slates, ETR has the big tournaments. For the main slates, they have not. And then for these 2-game slates, they also do not. So trying to find the tournament with as many entries as possible to sim out. That's how it goes. Guy must have not played the chalk this week and got mad at it. I mean, that's been really the theme here. So, you can't even get mad at me for that, because I'm telling you guys, play more chalk. It's the fucking drum I'm beating as hard as possible. And frankly, I'll say this week, I got a little too cute with chalk in some spots. And I talked about it on Stochastic, played a lot of the dumpster dive QBs. Those builds weren't bad or anything, but I didn't play as many chalky players this week. And last week, I was just hand building chalk on a train on my way back from a wedding. And had a really nice profitable week. This week, tried to play a little more unique. Thought I built some good lineups. Did not get the same results. It just comes down to the reality that we need to stop making as many fancy plays. And I'll keep beating that drum as much as I can. Can we make a single game parlay before the stream is over? That's not my jam. I just show the stuff I'm gambling on. If I were doing content around same game parlays or props this year, I'd be doing more. But I'm just not there. So I appreciate you asking. But it's not where my brain is at. Top ROI lineup according to ETR here. Again, we're in the flea flicker, trying to get the biggest 150 max that we can possible for the sim that we're running. Caleb Williams, triple stack here. Caleb, Bijan, DeAndre Swift, Drake London, Romo Dunze, DJ Moore, Kyle Pitts, Krosky Merritt, Falcons. So pretty big Commanders fade here. ETR does love the Commanders data-wise, so you're fading them in your top ROI lineup. Not a surprise. Playing a Caleb massive stack here. Not really as much game stacking as it is. Actually, did that one? Actually, that one is a full fade in the Bills. So there you go. You're seeing one team removed entirely here. Noteworthy. Absolutely noteworthy. Number 2, Michael Penix. Yeah, I also had too much Puka. That was definitely another part of the process. That was so upsetting, man. Because that was a perfect situation for him to have a reasonable day. He didn't start hot, though. They were really trying to go out of their way to feed Adams. But fucking, that's the shitty part about chalk. Is when chalk gets hurt, you're fucked, and you're with everybody who's getting fucked. If you're going to ever speak ill of chalk, that's the reason why. Michael Penix at number 2. Penix, Bijan Robinson, James Cook, Drake London, Khalil Shakir, Romo Dunze, Kyle Pitts, DeAndre Swift, Bears D. So this one, no Commanders. So our 2 top ROI lineups are a fade of at least one team. Buffalo in the first one, Commanders in the second one. This one is also a Commanders fade. Caleb, Bijan, James Cook, Drake London, Romo Dunze, Zacchaeus, Kyle Pitts, DeAndre Swift, Bears D. So another Chicago mega stack here. Good amount of Falcons getting in, so that's not the way it's getting unique. Only one Bill. No Commanders. This one, we are fading the Bills entirely. Caleb, Bijan, DeAndre Swift, Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, ETR, loving these Chicago mega stacks. Deebo Samuel, Kyle Pitts, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and Falcons D. And number 5, another Caleb stack here. Caleb, Bijan, DeAndre Swift, Drake London, Roma Dunze, Deebo Samuel, Kyle Pitts, Krosky-Merritt, Falcons D. So this one, again, fading the Bills. So really, all of these here, they're all fading one team, which I think is pretty interesting. Top 5 lineups, all choosing to fade one team entirely. That's really one of the biggest takeaways for a short slate. I'm glad I said it, and now you're seeing it come through in the sim. Overall, your highest ROI players, Caleb Williams, you can imagine with how high of these ROIs are. Caleb, when he hits, he wins you a lot of money. 18% exposure to Caleb, but a 2,200% ROI for him. DJ Moore, 16% exposure, 1,900 ROI for DJ Moore. So playing the lesser owned Chicago pieces seems like the move. Falcons D, 19% exposure. Fields at 1,800. Or actually, no, Fields at 1,800. That's not it. ROI is at 1,800, almost 1,900. Josh Allen not turning the ball over as much as he has in the past. Only a 1.1% interception rate. Taking sacks 5% of the time. It's nothing that crazy. That said, we do know historically Josh Allen can sometimes turn the ball over, leads the defense making a lineup at 2,300. Falcons coming up a lot here. So if I had to guess, that really represents that they think that Josh Allen falters 20% of the time, and when that happens, the Falcons allow you to play all the players you need. But Falcons D, top 5 ROI here. According to ETR, DeAndre Swift, 42% exposure. He sells an 1,800% ROI. And Roma Dunze, 44% exposure, 16% ROI. So he is chalky. But these ETR sims, it's your top, 7 out of the top 9 are Bears. Even though, Olabides Zaccheaus is making it here. Burden at 1% making it here. I don't think the Burden's played too cute on a 2-game slate. It's a little too cute if it were a main slate, but on a 2-gamer, you're talking more kind of showdown rules. So he, to me, kind of the same play as your Atlanta guys. He's a little bit better, I think, than some of the Atlanta guys because he does get the deep shots occasionally. But no, like if he's your one thing that's unique in a lineup, that's fine. Caleb Morris, Swift, Odunze triple stack. That is what these sims love. Is Ray Davis too cute? Yeah, I would think he is. His workload's gone down a little bit too much. Ty Johnson's taken more than he probably should. Let's go to Stochastic Sim next, guys. Apologize for gulping repeatedly here, but a man's throat's going to do what it do. My throat power, not back to full strength. But check out the solver, guys. Link down below. ETR's data. Great data to have as well. Again, really think the big thing for me, if I were to give a cosign to 2 data products that I've had a lot of time with that I know well, ETRs is one, Stochastics is another, obviously. Saber Sim, another great product out there. Run the Sims I have not used personally this year with all the changes the endgame guys have made, but use data as part of your process. Really an important thing, especially you guys out there that are like, I need to play fucking asshole RB7 on a main slate. Just use Sims, understand the stuff better, understand how chalk works, understand how these sites are grading high ROI lineups. And you can see there, like those lineups up top are not playing, little fringe player at 3K. They're playing all credible players within the construct of a 1-game environment hitting. So, really, I feel like I'm trying real hard to make everybody get on the same page where my brain is working really hard to get to as well. That's the theme of 2025, guys. Less fancy plays. Even when Puka Nacua buries you, JSN didn't on that slate, and he fucking had his nut by the first half. That's how a lot of these slates are going lately. The chalk is better chalk than it's ever been. But, on a 2-gamer, you can play with that a little bit more. Your top ROI lineup scored to Stochastic. So here we're getting the other side. Again, I always call ETR and Stochastic the other side of the aisle. But really you're getting it here where ETR was saying play Chicago stuff. Here Stochastic is saying play Michael Penix with Atlanta stuff. So Atlanta triple stacks at number 1, 2, and 3. Michael Penix, Bijan Robinson, your top ROI lineup with a 440% ROI. And don't worry about the difference here. It's just because they're different field sizes for the tools. But the ROI looks higher on ETR. It doesn't really matter. It's just directional accuracy of the ROI. But Penix, Bijan Robinson, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Roma Dunze, Deebo Samuel, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, DeAndre Swift, Falcons D, leaving 600 on the table, so you can definitely leave some money here. Our next 2 lineups are leaving over 1,000, so don't be afraid to leave 2K on the table. Probably not 3. Number 2 ROI lineup is Michael Penix, Bijan Robinson, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt again. Deebo Samuel makes it. Drake London makes it again. Kyle Pitts makes it again. DJ Moore makes it for the first time here. The last one had Odunze. This one is DJ Moore. DeAndre Swift in the flex, Commanders D, and that one's leaving 1,100 on the table. Number 3 lineup is an Atlanta triple, plus a 1 bring back here. Michael Penix, Bijan Robinson, James Cook, Deebo Samuel, Drake London, Olamide Zaccheaus. So that's your low-owned piece. Kyle Pitts, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Commanders D. We're not quite doing as much of a full team fade here in these lineups. Seems like ETR was liking that more. But, these lineups are fine. And again, I think they represent similar parts here of just not playing Jaden Daniels, not playing Josh Allen for your potential highest ROIs. Number 4 is a Chicago triple with 2 bringbacks. So we're basically trying to play good Commanders, but with Caleb as a QB instead of Jaden Daniels. So Caleb Williams, Bijan Robinson, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Rome Odunze, Drake London, DJ Moore, Zach Ertz, DeAndre Swift, and Falcons D. Leaving 1,100 on the table. Your number 5 ROI lineup is a Jaden one. So Jaden, Bijan, James Cook, Drake London, Khalil Shakir, Luke McCaffrey, Zach Ertz, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Commanders. Gotta say, I'm surprised to see the lack of Josh Allen up top. We've seen every QB a little bit, so just for the sake of completionism here, I'm just gonna pull up Josh Allen real fast. So your top ROI lineups for Josh Allen. Josh Allen, triple stack with 2 bringbacks. Allen, Cook, Krosky-Merritt, Drake London, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Kyle Pitts, DeAndre Swift, Bills. So this one kind of fading Commanders, but still playing Krosky-Merritt, assuming the production flows through him. Number 2 is Josh Allen, double stack with 2 bringbacks. Allen, Cook, Krosky-Merritt, Drake London, DJ Moore, Keon Coleman, Kyle Pitts, DeAndre Swift, and Bills. Number 3 is Josh Allen, Bijan Robinson, Krosky-Merritt, Deebo, DJ Moore, Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts, Commanders. Look, I know I've not been the biggest Bill pusher in the world, even though I did capitulate towards the end of best ball season and have capitulated less now we're in the actual season. That's a lot of Krosky-Merritt to be getting everywhere. Like, I still think there are game scripts where he doesn't get there every time. I think people might be a little too on that scent with him hitting last week, and the Sims are giving you a ton of Krosky-Merritt. I don't think he's a bad player or anything, but if they're just going to force feed him that much, I'd kind of rather roll the dice on Swift, pay up for James Cook, obviously pay up for Bijan would be great. But I think the price point for Krosky-Merritt works a little bit too well. So he's kind of getting into more stuff than he probably should. For your highest ROI players, number 1 ROI, only 2 players have a positive ROI in Stochastic's top 150 lineups. Casey Washington, 6.4% ROI here. Michael Penix, also a 3% ROI for him. Casey Washington's minimum salary. Michael Penix is the cheapest QB on the slate, so I can see why those guys are coming up. Luke McCaffrey has a negative ROI, but he's your number 3 guy. Krosky-Merritt, number 4. He's going to be in a lot of lineups, but he still has the 4th highest ROI on the slate in Stochastic's top 150 lineups. And Kyle Pitts, a negative 5% ROI, makes him the 5th highest ROI guy. Stack ROIs. Nothing to note here. The only player with a positive ROI in terms of stacking is Michael Penix with a QB plus 3. So triple stacks for Penix do look plus EV. Everything else, though, is negative for every possible construction of all the QBs. And that's going to happen because there's probably a lot of dupes on all these lineups. Overall exposures here. 86% exposure to Krosky-Merritt. So even though Bijan will be the chalkiest play of the slate, according to Stochastic's ownership data, Stochastic wants to get 35% more exposure to Krosky-Merritt. 86% of lineups have him in their top 150, Fields at 51. Drake London, 79% exposure in the top 150, Fields at 63, so a big stand in favor of both Krosky-Merritt and Drake London. Bijan Robinson, even though he is technically a fade for Stochastic, he's in 79% of lineups, Fields at 89, so certainly a tough fade, but Stochastic is saying fade him a little bit more than the Fields going to, because that at least gives you a shot at hitting if he does not make a winning lineup somehow. Deebo Samuel, 64% exposure, Fields at 62, not a big stand there, but he's still one of the highest exposed guys in almost about 2/3 of the lineups. And DeAndre Swift at 55% of lineups, Fields at 38, is a pretty big stand by Stochastic. Leverage plays, Krosky-Merritt's number 1, 35% more in the field than Stochastic's top 150. Drake London, 17% more in the field in their top 150 as well. DeAndre Swift, 16% more in the field. Bills D played 14% more of the field. I would support that. I think Cook plus Bills D, Allen plus Bills D, I think those probably end up A little bit underplayed in the slate because of how much people are going to naturally get Falcons in their lineups. Kyle Pitts, 14% positive leverage, and Caleb Williams, not too far behind here. So your biggest stands in favor of are Krosky Merritt, Drake London, DeAndre Swift, Bills D, Kyle Pitts, and Caleb Williams. Negative leverage, guys. Josh Allen, you're playing 21% less of the field. Sims not supporting him. You're still getting him 17% of the top 150, but definitely less than the field's expected. 2x that ownership. Bears D, negative 15% leverage. A lot of times the team playing the Commanders come up as a defense that people want to play because of sim date. I think in particular ETR pushes the anti-Commanders defense going against Commanders a lot. And Jaden Daniels, whatever flaws you want to say, you might say I like him more than I should, or he's not as good as I think. Whatever flaws there are for Jaden, he doesn't really turn the ball over very much. Really, most of the QBs on the slate aren't really aggressive in terms of turnovers this year. I mean, I mentioned Josh Allen, 1.1% pick rate. Michael Penix, 2.2%. Caleb, 1.3. Jaden has not thrown a pick this year, barely threw any last year as well. It's not a great anticipating turnover slate. So to fade the Bears here, I would do that naturally anyway. The sim isn't supportive of it. James Cook, 14% less of the field. Keon Coleman, 14% less of the field as well. You are, in fact, barely playing Keon Coleman in Stochastic's top 150. Only 13% exposure, fields at 26 and change. And Bijan Robinson, pretty big fade here relatively. 11% less in the field, but he's still going to be played in about 80% of lineups, so not really that noteworthy of a fade. Let's go build a lineup here. Hand build. If you guys have any questions, anything else you want to see here, let me know and I'll pull it up because we're making decent time. But let's go to the Monday 2-game slate here. Large contest, 35% to first. All right. I'm still team Jaden. How do we make a unique Jaden lineup? Got to support my boy on a 2-gamer. I'm going to go Jaden first. Going to go Debo right away. Zach Ertz bounce back. I think the thing we're going to do to get unique is not play Krosky Merritt. So that's what I'm going to try to live with here. I am going to go DeAndre Swift. So get the other RB from that game instead of Krosky Merritt. Let's see if we can cram in Bijan here. Leaves us 4,900 left per player. Drake London, everybody's going to want to play. Do I want to play Drake London? Everybody's asking about Bird, but Bird's going to pick up more ownership. This is now like the third person asking about Bird in the chat. He's fine. He's on a main slate. I would not play him on this slate. You can play him a little bit, but I really wouldn't go much above. Fields going 5.5%. You don't need to play more than 10% Burden. He's really... Come on. Luke McCaffrey or Bird. Everybody, again, I don't think Burden's a really great play. He's only running 8.5 routes a game. But this is a lot. It's a lot of asking it. But I would say, I don't think LMC is the play, but I think people are going to play Burden more than Luke McCaffrey. I don't know that you need to do any of those. But anyway, Luther Burden, not a bad play, not a main slate play normally. But here on a 2-gamer, you can play the shitty guys. I would treat him the same. I would treat him the same as I would Casey Washington. I would treat him the same as I would Josh Palmer. Like those, that's all just one spot you should be going to. Bird is not special relative to those guys either. Yeah, rookie bump after bye. I get it. I don't think... I mean, Matthew Golden, I guess, proved that concept right relatively yesterday, but he was also so due to be less bad than he was. I just get the sense from whenever people in my chat, see people say in the Stochastic Live before Lock Show later on, do that with Lofty today. It's 6:15 Eastern, so watch that. I guarantee they're going to bring up Burden a lot too. Whenever I see the YouTube chat, whether it's mine or the Stochastic one, bringing up a guy a little bit more than it feels like they should, that player does like 10 times out of 10 end up a little bit overowned in tournaments. So just the same thing that we talk about every show now is that your first thought going to be very similar to a lot of people's first thoughts. Not to shit on anybody here who's asking about Burden, but just so you guys start to think about it the right way is that like if you're thinking about it, a lot of other people are thinking about it, and he ends up being like 10 to 15% played as opposed to 5% Stochastic is projecting. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so 4,900 left for these spots. I am going to put in Drake London. Actually, no, I'm going to put in Odunze first because I think Odunze to me in this kind of build, I want to get a little more Chicago representation, and I do think Odunze just has a role that's not matched by anybody else on the team right now, and Washington's secondary I don't think is good enough to stop Odunze from keeping that role. If I play Drake London, I'm not going to have a lot of money left. We'll have 3,400 for the flex and DST. I mean, this build, I think we go Falcons here because we have not played any Bills in the lineup. So just for the sake of trying to build a lineup that makes sense as opposed to one that crams in players I think are good, I'm going to go Falcons D here. So we're going to say that Bijan, Drake London get there. Hard to expect them to get there if Falcons D also gets there because that kind of means the Bills aren't pushing. But maybe the Bills, because they're a good offense, maybe Atlanta just tries harder and somehow also gets to Josh Allen on defense. I think it'd be the hope for this lineup. And we have 4,400 left for one more spot. Dalton Kincaid making it. So that's also part of the issue too, is like Burton's 4,500. I would much rather, I mean, the projections I think would greatly support playing Dalton Kincaid instead. So we played Falcons D, we'll play Dalton Kincaid against it. That's fine to play one player against the defense. Frankly, on a 2-game slate, you could play an entire stack against the defense and I wouldn't be mad at you. So let's run this sim here. The team that I built, Jaden Daniels at QB, DeAndre Swift, Bijan Robinson, Debo, Romo Dunze, Drake London, 2 tight ends with Zach Ertz and Dalton Kincaid. Kincaid, you could argue, has been the wide receiver 1 for Buffalo, and Falcons D. It's got a 0.2% win rate, top 10, 2%. It's not bad. I think it might be a little more doopy than I would want, but I would still play that lineup. So that's it. That's the video. We made decent time again, trying to keep it under an hour for the people who are watching on new users on YouTube. But nobody asking anything else. Here, let's for the sake of all the Burden boys, that's what I'm calling you guys. Let's look at a Luther Burden positive ROI lineup. Lineup contains Burden. So no Burden lineups are in Stochastics top 150, but it is a Caleb stack. Caleb, Bijan, James Cook, Romo Dunze, DJ Moore, Luther Burden. Feels like you want to take one of those guys out. But Kyle Pitts, Ja'Cory Krosky, Merritt Bills. So basically playing Caleb triple allows you to play like everybody else the data wants to play. You do have to fade Drake London, but you get to play Odunze. Yeah, I don't mind that one. Number 2 is a Penix stack. Penix, Bijan, James Cook, Debo Samuel, Drake London, Luther Burden, Kyle Pitts, Ja'Cory Krosky, Merritt Commanders. That's nothing too exciting there. Number 3, another Caleb stack. I feel like if I were playing Burden, I think it'd be a Caleb stack, because if Burden's getting going, probably means he got there in like one play, and that means that Caleb is playing loose or just kind of dropping back, taking more shots. So I think if I'm playing Burden, I think it would only be in a Caleb stack, or I guess a lineup where you fade Odunze and DJ Moore, but I don't know how often that hits. But this number 3 lineup here with Burden, just for the sake of completionism, Caleb, Bijan Robinson, James Cook, Debo Samuel, Drake London, Luther Burden makes it again. So this is one where you're fading the Chicago pass catchers, but you get Burden in as a result. Kyle Pitts, Ja'Cory Krosky, Merritt Bears. Yeah, if Burden were the same price as like the super cheap guys, I'd be there a little bit more. As it is, it feels like you got to be really deliberate about how you play him. And I think that's Caleb stacks. Definitely you have to fade one of Odunze and DJ Moore, in my opinion, or on-slotted, I guess, like the top lineup. But that's the show for now, guys. I'm going to give you guys, I guess, 3 takeaways to get unique here, even though it's not a showdown video. I think there are 3. Before I do that, though, guys, please show some love. Hit that like button, subscribe. Your engagements go a long way for me here. I'm always fighting that YouTube algorithm. There's a lot of content out there. I think I do what I do as well as anybody else out there, and I think I show you guys something different that nobody else does by taking you through some of the top products, giving you real access to the data and the tools here. And, of course, I couldn't do that without the partners we have on this channel, and without you. So please subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. It all goes a long way for me here. Check out Stochastic, 15% off, link down below. Solver, promo code SPLASH as well, link down below for that to go support the channel if you want to get access to those tools. And of course, join the Discord, $5 to join this channel. When you do that, you get access to the Discord, you get access to my data sheet every week. You also get access to a premium video where I go through the data game by game. And as the season goes on here, it's going to be more and more valuable, I think, because the data gets stronger as we go. 3 ways to get unique, though. Number 1, fade one team entirely. We saw ETR really pushing that. Top 5 ROI lineups on ETR all faded one team entirely, and people don't play that angle enough. You could basically play the projections pretty straightforward at that point if you just fade one team, so I would do that. Number 2 way to get, for what it's worth, I think the Falcons are the most intriguing full fade, but, you can fade any of the teams. Doesn't matter. Just pick one. If you're doing a 20 max and you just want to try to do something unique, play 5 teams that fade Team A, play 5 teams that fade Team B, play 5 teams that fade Team C, play 5 teams that play Team D. That's one way to try that. Number 2 way to get unique. I think playing Michael Penix and Caleb does feel like a way to get unique. I still am going to try to thread the needle of Jaden teams, but I will make sure to get a good amount of Penix and Caleb because those guys seem under own. Penix in particular, if Drake London hits, if Bijan hits, pretty good shot that Michael Penix is coming along for that ride, especially for Drake London and Kyle Pitts. But if those guys make lineups, Penix is a little bit underplayed, even though that he might get outscored by Jaden and Josh Allen. I think as long as you're not like leaving enough salary on the table to jump from Penix to Josh Allen to Jaden Daniels, maybe even to Caleb, Penix is still very playable. It's just got to be lineups where you're like eating up the salary, playing an Atlanta double. I think that's how you play Penix. Third way to get unique here. I mean, I think it's just playing one of the cheap receivers. A lot of people, again, asking about Luther Burden. But I think it can just be as simple as playing one of Burden, one of Josh Palmer, one of Casey Washington / Ray McLeod. These guys are not fun clicks, but they are clicks that do have some upside, particularly for the Atlanta guys. Not having Mooney out there does vacate a lot of routes. And most of them should go Ray McLeod's way, but like Washington will be out there. You have guys you can go to. I think that is a way to get unique here. Don't want to do it in every lineup necessarily, but I think that stands out relative to ownership. And I also think, too, people are going to play Luther Burden a good amount, so just treating him the same way as all the other cheap, like probably not likely to get there guys, would not be a bad approach. But that's the video for today, guys. And I appreciate this from Bree. Your takes on playing chalk have played out in a major way the last few weeks, and I think that's just part of the process. Again, big thing, keep in mind for this slate, for other ones, is just to be mindful of the fact that chalk is better than ever. Data makes the chalk sharper than ever. The Sims tools also show us whether it's Stochastic, ETR, the other ones I talked about, Saber Sim, Run the Sims, are all going to show you can play chalk. It's just making something unique around that. That's the approach here, and I think even for a 2-game slate, that's it. CJ Moore just stink this year. Efficiency-wise, he's been dead even with Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze, 0.33 EPA per target. DJ Moore, 0.35. The big issue is that, he's not getting targeted as much. DJ Moore, 16% target per out run. Odunze's at 27. Luther Burden's not playing a lot, but he's getting targeted 24% of the time he's running a route. And DJ Moore is also not getting red zone work, so that's sort of the issue. But I don't think he stinks. I do think, though, he's lost the number one receiver role to Rome Odunze, which was sort of the bet on Odunze before the year. But that's it for today, guys. Make sure to gamble responsibly, even though it is always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the channel at SplashPlayPod. I'm going to go rest up. I'm going to build some lineups this afternoon. Luke is at the aquarium with Alex, so thankfully I'll have some time to hopefully feel a little bit better for Live Before Lock today at 6:15. So tune in, me and Lofty at 6:15. Lofty will give me some things that challenge my takes, but also my takes will probably be a little more informed then because I'll be building lineups pretty aggressively, getting all my shit done before that stream. So check that out today, 6:15 on Stochastic's channel. And I appreciate all you guys for being here. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. And just do the best you can on today's slate, guys. Feels like it's going to be a tough one, but I believe in you. So I'll see you guys on Thursday for the showdown or on Stochastic tonight. Enjoy your days. Good luck and happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Bye-bye. Columbus, great Italian, but not so much. Bye-bye.